Hi everyone, it's Andrew from RC, and this time it's not so much about making things, it's about how did they perform. So a little bit of a review, if you will. We've been to Wales this weekend, just gone, and this is genuine Wales mud you're seeing lying about all over the place. And I took this truck, which is of course a Unimog hardbody on a TRX Sport chassis, and I promised you an update on how it was going to perform. I also took an FTX Mauler, which has had some modifications you've seen, and my MC8 big 12 scale 8x8. The weekend was great. Weather was far better than we thought it was going to be, and of course it's Wales, it's the hills of Wales, the Brecon Beacons to be exact. So we've got lots of mud, lots of grass, lots of slopes, lots of sheep trails, lots of rocks, lots of everything. Yeah, pretty much most of the stuff we haven't got here. Mud I've got, but no. We haven't got any inclines in Hertfordshire. It's just flat as a witch's tit. Anyhow, like gypsies, don't annoy the witches. Don't stare at their flatness. Anyhow, the how did the Mog get on? Well, to be honest with you, she was absolutely awesome. I cannot believe, and I'm so stoked, so happy about how this rig performed. I just had this sneaking feeling it might be a little bit of a top heavy lemon, I should say. Well, lemming as well perhaps, but lemon was what I was thinking. Good news, the good points really, the tyres, they get a gold star. These Proline grunts, they're soft, they sag nicely on here as you can see, but they seem quite strong deep down. They don't roll over so much, and they give amazing grip in the mud because they're tall and thin, so they kind of, as Steve was saying, they kind of sink through to the firmer stuff. They don't float on the top like big wider tyres might. They've got a good blocky pattern that clears in the water very quickly, and they have lots of grip for the rocks. So this big old bus can do a bit of crawling. She was up on the rocks like a good one. So you full marks to Proline for these tyres, and I'm so glad I bought them. Go me. She survived virtually intact. There has been a little bit of damage, of course, naturally, and good news is that all the metal work that I added on to make a Wales proof worked, and has several scratches to prove its place, and also the mudguard, the wheel arches on the front here, they've taken a bit of a beating because they're the proudest part. I didn't need to put the cage on the bumper. That was good. I didn't get really any marks up on the top here, so that's good. I have got some scrapes across the top of the roof here, just to give you an illustration of the extreme performance that we've had to do. The extreme crawling, she's been like this, down channels with rocks and stuff, and oh yes. And I've also, the biggest damage was really the loss of the rear light and mud flap assembly. I have one, obviously, I don't have the other. Sunday morning, I went out on Saturday afternoon with this, and that went into the night. So during the night session, during the darkness, I noticed that I'd lost a mud flap in the mud somewhere. We were in mud at the time, and I'm pretty sure I didn't take me long to see it, because it's got a reflective strip on, you see, the reflective stripes, so you can kind of see it in your head torch. These are pretty obvious. Suddenly it wasn't there. So I can only guess it snapped off on a rock or something where she was ploughing through the mud, and that was the end of that. On Sunday morning, really, when I spotted it, there was only one thing I could do, and that was to take the other side off. So yeah, it was this side that I lost, and this is the side that was on here, but I snapped off because then at least it doesn't look so obvious. And so I'm going to have to remedy that, which I think will be of some 14 scale Tamiya lighting cluster type setup on the back here. Yeah, which might mean I can get some lights in, which of course I couldn't do before because they're so thin and there wasn't really any room. So maybe I'll be able to make something out of this, and it won't be quite such a thing. But that was really it. I mean, that was really the only serious amount of damage that she took. A bit of paint's gone, a couple of scratches here. She's got a nice couple of deep scratches in there. you know, but that's not a big deal. She didn't lose any of her sort of scale, kind of proud detail here, door handles and things, mirrors, it's all there still. Fuel filler cap, Steve, that's still on. Just I know you've got. I just thought you'd like to know. And yeah, what a great rig, what a great chassis, the TRX Sport. I think you guys probably already knew that. It's all new to me, and I've got to say, now I see what all the fuss is about. What a great rig, what a great you know thing. And I'm so happy and proud of myself because it's actually come out and worked out performance and looks exactly how I'd envisaged it. So yeah, go me, eh? Go me. Now the other rig I took was the FTX Mauler. So let's go and have a look at that, shall we? Christ, these are dirty rigs. Right. So the FTX Mauler now. This has been a problem rig from day one. I've never quite gelled with this. So Wales was really its last chance, and I've got to say, it blew it. So the Mauler is unfortunately headed for eBay, I think, because I've got plans. I'll tell you about them at the end. So, what about the mods? What did I do to it? Were they a success? Well, the rear wheel steering was the biggest thing I did. So there's a separate video on that. I'll put a link up here maybe for that. The rear wheel steering was a complete success. It worked fine. It didn't break. It didn't detract anything. It only added good stuff to the performance capabilities of the rig. It can turn really quickly now, which it couldn't do before. And because you can switch it on and off, it's a thing you can call it when you need it. So you don't use the servo all the time. You're not overstressing what could be, well, what is in my case a fairly small and weak servo. So that was brilliant. Really happy with that. I did lose a grub screw. The actual pinion came off the motor. I don't even know if the pinion was, whether it was tightened on or not, but it just fell off the motor. And within about a minute and a half of getting her out of the car, she was stranded. So that was a bad start and perhaps an omen for the rest of it. That was the only thing that went wrong with the truck. So she drove well, a bit noisy as usual, but she drove well. She climbed well. She steered beautifully with these 100mm oil shocks on. She lifts and she can stretch and she can flex and do all sorts of wonderful gymnastics. But the one thing she couldn't do, and I'm blaming these eBay tyres, is grip the rocks. They just don't have what it takes. I am now completely converted, if I wasn't before, that branded tyres are expensive for a reason. They're expensive because they're made out of good quality rubber. Whatever it is that makes them sticky, they've got it, and the eBay 15 quid for 4 tyres don't have it. In the mud, these are great. These have been fine for us for the last 3 years. But put them to test on the rocks, not a cat in hell's chance. They just won't hook up. So the poor Mauler barely got all 4 wheels on the rocks. And when she did, unfortunately, the pumpkin would then get hung up on a rock. And these pumpkins are, I don't know whether you can see, but they've got a very defined edge on them, straight, like a 90-degree edge on them. They're not circular, so they don't ride over things, they snag straight into them. Front and back, she was getting hung up all over the shop. So it really isn't, it just didn't work. There's just not really a lot of clearance. And these are massive 2.2 tyres. There's still not a lot of clearance here. If I put some smaller tyres on, there'd be virtually no gap here front and back. So she's just not. She failed the final test. What can I say? I put a lot of time and effort into this rig, and I'd like it to perform, but it doesn't. So it's going to go on eBay, and yeah, I think it's only fair. You know, somebody out there might want to use this as a mud machine and so on, and it'll do that beautifully. You know, it's a good machine for that. I still like it. I just really don't want to use it. I don't want in the fleet. I could do with the money for something else. So what I'm going to do instead is build myself a 313 based chassis based rock crawler for Wales, so I can live with Terry's Gatekeeper, which of course is just an element crawler with no real bodywork on it, and Steve's Capra, which of course is specifically designed for rock crawling. So I want a truck that can live with those two, and ideally beat Terry's Gatekeeper, obviously. But to live with the Capra. So the funds from this are going to go into a rock crawler project. Bare bones, and you know, Lexan cab, probably nothing on the back, just, you know, good shocks, good rubber, good gearing, so it doesn't have to go very quick, just you know, nice smooth controlled gearing. And yeah, so this will be on eBay very shortly. If you see it, it is mine. It'll have the full normal bodywork, of course, with it. I'll put the FTX shocks back on, but these wheels and tyres, the steering, all that will go with it. So yeah, if you want one, well, drop in a comment in the bottom. I'll put my eBay name, so you can, if you want to have a bid for it, you'll see it and it'll be on there. Okay. Now the other truck I took was the MC8, the Cross RC MC8, of course, the big 8x8. You know what that is, you've seen it hundreds of times. Now, I'm not going to go and get it because it's huge, it's also dirty, got enough mud down here already, and I really can't be bothered. So, what was that all about? That had the RC 4-wheel drive Duratrack 155s on, you may remember. If I've got a picture or a clip or something, I'll put that in. I was curious to see how they were going to perform. Now, they performed pretty well. I didn't test it on the rocks, really. It's not a rock truck. It's too big and heavy and clumsy for rocks, really. But it did hook up when it needed to. The tyres look great, and the Boom Racing steel wheels, they look great as well. The 155 dimension wasn't a hindrance. I did it for cosmetic purposes, and it looked on the money. They were just a bit soft. I had to put the standard foams in, as you may remember, because the dual rates wouldn't fit. I couldn't get them they couldn't get the bead locks to work. So they were a bit soft. That's my only reservation. So I might go and try the dual stages again. Maybe shave out a little bit of the hard foam so I can get the bead locks closing properly. I think it needs it. But they were a success, so I'm happy with that. A big investment, obviously. 8 official tyres and official wheels, not cheap. So I'm glad they worked. So yeah, there you go. That's something I've learned, you know. You might balk at paying 50 quid for 4 tyres as opposed to 20 on eBay. And in the mud, doesn't seem to matter. But if you're going to go out on the rocks and you've got a £400-500 investment wearing them, do it. Okay, do it. I also came from Wales with a surprise. I've got to say a big shout out to Steve and his lovely wife Alex and the debonair George the cat, who clubbed together to get me a birthday present, which I'm completely not expecting. And I will tell you what that is in our next episode, because this has gone on long enough. But yes, I have a new project at last. I have a new project to be getting on with, so I will let you in on that. Alright, so from me, it's goodbye, au revoir, and from the Mauler, it's farewell. And we'll catch up with you next time. Cheers, gang.